Number 10, the Dog Boy. The small town of Quitman, located in Cleburne County, Arkansas, is known for its rich history and picturesque Victorian era homes. However, among these charming homes lies a dark history that has led to the town being known for its haunted houses. One such house is the Beatus House, a large home on Mulberry Street. This house has had a long and troubled history dating back to the late 19th century. The house was originally built by the Garrett family in the late 1800s. It was a grand and impressive home, and for many years it was the pride of the Quitman. However, in the early 1950s, the house was sold to the Beatties family. The Beatties family, consisting of Floyd and Aileen, were childish for many years until they had a son in 1954 named Gerald Floyd Beatties. Gerald Beatties was a difficult child from an early age, and he was known for being very vicious and cruel to others. He also had a strange interest in collecting stray animals and later torturing them. Then as he grew older, his behavior became more sinister, and he allegedly kept his elderly parents imprisoned in the upstairs part of the house, where he would only feed them when he decided it was time for them to eat. He was also known for physically abusing his father and throwing him out of an upstairs window on one occasion. It is believed by the locals that the spirits of the Garrett family, along with the spirit of Gerald Beatties, still haunt the house to this day. The haunt has been vacant for many years and local residents avoid it at all costs. Number 9, the Boggy Creek Monster. The small town of Fouke, Arkansas has long been captivated by the legend of the Boggy Creek Monster. According to the local legend, the creature, said to be between 7 to 8 feet tall and weighing around 300 pounds, is covered in thick long hair and has been spotted roaming the area for over a century. The first reported sightings date back to 1834, with a surge in sightings around Fouke in the 1900s. In 1997 alone, residents reported spotting the monster more than 40 times. The creature is often thought to be nocturnal, but one hunter even reported a sighting in broad daylight in the Sulphur River Wildlife Area near Fouke in 2000. The legend of the Boggy Creek Monster has been the subject of several films, with the most notable being 1973's The Legend of Boggy Creek. The movie, which centers around a supposed encounter with the beast by Bobby Ford, was most likely shot on location in Fouke and brought the legend to the attention of millions of people. The film also brought an economic boost to the region, with many cast members being locals or nearby college students. The famous encounter that the film is based on actually occurred in 1971. The Fords claim that the Boggy Creek Monster attacked their home late on the night of May 1st. According to Elizabeth Ford, the creature reached through her screen window but was chased away by Bobby and his brother Dan. Unsatisfied, the monster reportedly returned shortly after midnight and tossed Bobby to the ground. Bobby was taken to the St. Michael Hospital in Texarkana and treated for large gashes across his back. Although no traces of blood were found at the Ford's home, 3-toed footprints were found near the house, there were scratches on the porch, and the siding and a window were both damaged. Number 8, railroad track lights. There is a supposed haunted railroad track in Crowset, Arkansas, and after many reports, it has now become a hotspot for paranormal enthusiasts. According to the locals, a ghostly light appears to move up and down the tracks as if it's being held by a disembodied spirit. Some local residents claim that the source of this ghostly light is the spirit of a man who was hit by a train and decapitated, and now his ghost walks these tracks searching for his head. This is what it kind of looks like.
Oh my god, it's bright. Daddy, I'm scared. No, I'm not kidding, Daddy, I swear. It's in the middle of the road. No, I'm not kidding. I'm not.
Many people who have visited the tracks have reported strange encounters with the ghostly light. Some claim that when standing on the tracks, the light will come towards them, disappear, then reappear on the other side. There are many videos available online that capture this strange experience, but it is unclear if the light is just an ordinary sight on the track or if there is actually something paranormal going on in the area. Number 7, the vanishing hitchhiker. In central Arkansas, there is a chilling ghost story that's commonly told around Halloween. Introducing the tale of the vanishing hitchhiker. According to the legend, travelers on the dark road of Arkansas Highway 365 sometimes encounter a young girl walking in the pouring rain in a torn white dress while crossing one spooky bridge. Some say they have stopped to give the young girl a ride. Those who stop say that they pick her up and drive her to her nearby home. However, when they arrive, the drivers discover that the girl has suddenly disappeared. Those who choose to knock on the front door of the home the young girl takes them to learn from a woman who answers that the young girl used to live at the home but was killed in a car accident, and she usually regularly hitchhikes a ride home, according to legend. One man recalled the time this happened to him, where he picked up the girl and even gave the girl his jacket. As expected, when they arrived, she disappeared, and when he went to the door, a woman answered, and he explained explain what had just occurred. The woman at the door said, quote, "That young girl is my daughter, who was killed years ago. She hitchhikes back home once a year." The young man then drove to the cemetery to see the young girl's grave. There he found his coat draped over her tombstone. Number 6, the Gosrow. Arkansas not only has haunted homes and stories, but they also have their own terrifying creatures. These were known as the Gosrow. This monster is believed to be a massive 20-foot long creature with tusks and claws. But that's not even the most interesting part of them. On January 31st, 1897, the Arkansas Gazette, a popular newspaper of the time, published an article written by Albert Smithy that included the sketch of this creature, and also an account of the first known encounter with it. The encounter, as described by Smithy, took place in the Ozark Forest, where a man named William Miller was traveling through the tiny town of Blanco. Miller had heard reports of livestock and pets being found dead, so he formed a group to track down the predator. They eventually encountered a creature that was 20 feet long with tusks and claws, as well as a row of horns along its back and a tail that ended in a blade-like point. The group supposedly killed the beast, but the body that Miller swore he shipped to the Smithsonian never arrived. The eerie scream that was heard in the forest before the encounter, which sounded like a gaw-row, gave the urban legend its name. There are several possible explanations for the legend of this creature. Smithy may have just wanted attention for claiming to know the details of this elusive creature, or the story may have been a case of mistaken identity. The tusk and horns could have belonged to a razorback pig, or since the creature was said to have emerged from the lake, an alligator could have been the culprit. But despite the lack of concrete evidence, the legend of the Gosrow has continued to captivate the imagination of the citizens of Arkansas for over 125 years. It may be a tall tale, but you never know what could be lurking in those forests. In the hump of our list, we have the Eureka Springs. Eureka Spring, Arkansas is a small town that is known for its immense paranormal activity. While some see it primarily as a gorgeous little Victorian village and a wonderful place to react, others consider it a hotbed for paranormal activity and also one of the most haunted places in Arkansas. Both perspectives are valid, of course, but mostly Eureka Springs is complex, a place where a vibrant, quirky little town is overrun with hauntings. Don't let the cheery buildings and nice folks fool you. The souls of the departed lives in Eureka Springs too. One of the most famous haunted places in the town is the 1886 Crescent Hotel. The hotel has been featured on the Travel Channel and is famous for its haunted room 218, where the ghost of Michael, who fell to his death during the hotel's construction, is said to reside. Guests have reported feeling a presence in the room, and some have even claimed to have seen the ghostly figure of Michael himself. The entire Crescent Hotel is full of ghosts, partly because it was once used as a cancer hospital, complete with a morgue that is also one of the most haunted places on the grounds. Number 4, the Allen House. The Allen House in Monticello, Arkansas is a beautiful 1906 Queen Anne Victorian style home, but it has a dark history that has made it a popular spot for ghost hunters and history enthusiasts alike. The house was built by local businessman Joe Lee Allen and was intended to be a showpiece in the town, with impressive porch columns and neoclassical design with a touch of Gothic decoration. Allen, along with his wife and 3 daughters, moved into the family home, and for a while they were content. Allen's business ventures thrived and all was well, until his death in 1917. Then in 1949, another tragedy happened that would cast a shadow over the house's majestic appearance. During the last week of 1948, daughter Liddell Allen poisoned herself after consuming mercury cyanide. The new year would begin on a dark note with Liddell's death. For nearly 40 years, her room was sealed off by her mother. Then after Mrs. Allen died in 1954, the home was sectioned into apartments and remained a rental property run by the Allen family. Tenants began seeing strange things and experiencing paranormal activity not long after they moved in. Shadowy figures would appear in photographs taken by residents, and furniture was rearranged with no one having touched anything. Objects around the house would disappear into thin air, and ever since, the story of Liddell grew into urban legend, and the Allen House was declared haunted by both residents and locals alike. Number 3, the Cotter Bridge. The R.M. Ruthven Rainbow Arch Bridge, also known as the Cotter Bridge, is a man-made wonder located in the town of Cotter, North Arkansas. Built in 1930 and renovated in 2004, it spans the White River and is known for its architectural marvel, trout fishing, and natural beauty. But beneath its lovely trusses, the bridge is also home to some spooky legends and ghost stories that have been passed down through generations. One of the most popular legends of the Cotter Bridge is the ghostly children that play on it during some nights. Visitors have reported hearing their laughter and chatter, but when they look for the children, they just disappear. While there is no concrete evidence to prove that these children are ghosts, the eerie and mysterious nature of their presence have left many visitors wondering. Another chilling tale that surrounds the Cotter Bridge is the ghost of a woman who is said to be chased by hounds. Visitors have reported hearing her screams and the baying of the hounds, but when they look for the source, they see nothing. The identity of the woman remains unknown, and the reason for her ghostly presence is also a mystery. Some say that she may have been the victim of a tragic event that occurred near the bridge, while others believe she may have been the spirit of someone who drowned in the White River below. Number 2, the Gurdon Light. The Gurdon Ghost Light is a mysterious and unexplained phenomenon that has been observed and documented in the small town of Gurdon, Arkansas. The light, which is said to be an eerie white-blue color that sways back and forth and moves around on a horizon, has been reported by locals and tourists alike. One popular legend surrounding the light is that it's the ghost of a railway worker who was killed on the job. According to this theory, the ghost is said to be carrying a lantern and roaming the tracks, searching for something. Another theory suggests that the light is the ghost of a railway worker who fell in front of a train and lost his head, and the light is coming from the lantern he carried in life as he searches for his missing head. While the true origins of the Gurdon Light ghost are unknown, there are a few natural theories as to what it might be. Some scientists have suggested it could be caused by highway lights reflecting through the trees, but historians and local residents disagree, as the light has been reported since before the highway was even built. Number 1, the Pea Ridge National Military Park. The Pea Ridge National Military Park in Arkansas is a place where history and a mystery collide. The battlefield is a haunting reminder of the brutal and bloody battle that took place here in 1962 during the Civil War. Here, the Confederate Army, outnumbered by the Union Army, fought bravely but ultimately lost the battle, resulting in the deaths of nearly 3,400 men and boys. Visitors to the battlefield have reported strange and eerie experiences that seem to be connected to the intense history of the place. Many have reported hearing cannon fire in the night, feeling strange presences following them around the battlefield, and hearing the shouts of boys who died on the bloody ground. The Confederate Army, made up of mostly boys, Texicans, and Missourians, were advancing north in hopes of capturing St. Louis in Missouri. They were exhausted, running low on food and ammunition, and their spirits were dampened by early losses at Pea Ridge. Meanwhile, the Union Army, led by a commander who is considered more of a politician than a war-tested general, rallied around a hot breakfast, proud of their success on the first day of battle and glad to have faced down an army that significantly outnumbered them. The battle lasted for 2 days, March 6th through March 8th, and at 10:30 a.m. on the morning of March 8th, the Confederate Army began its retreat, and by that time the smoke cleared, the battlefield was littered with the bodies of fallen soldiers. The eerie feeling of the battlefield may be due to the intense history, and considering that 3,400 people lost their lives here, it's not a surprise you may see at least one spirit. Coming in at a number 10 spot, we have the Devil's Tower. This brick tower was built in 1910 by millionaire sugar importer Manuel Rionda. He claims he built it for his late wife, Harriet Rionda, in order to give her a better view of the skyline. However, nowadays many believe his wife's spirit is stuck inside of the tower. According to the local legend, Harriet spotted Manuel with another woman one day, and despite the fact that she may have suspected cheating for over years, she still went off to the tower and took her own life out of grief. Since her alleged suicide, there has been several stories of hauntings, including accounts from persons who claim they were propelled by an eerie force. After all these tragedies, the tower was eventually named into the Devil's Tower, and I could say this name fits pretty well. At a number 9 spot, we have the Jersey Devil. Did you know that the mascot of the NHL team, New Jersey Devils, is based on a real creature that used to terrorize the state for years? Yeah. They are described as kangaroo-like creatures with the face of a horse, the head of a dog, and bat-like wings, horns, and tails. Sightings have occurred for the past 200 years, and it all started when a resident of Estiville was going to give birth for the 13th time, which she didn't plan for. So in disgust, she yelled out, quote, "Let it be the devil," and when it came out, it actually turned out to be a baby devil who ended up screeching before flying out the window, and that is now known as the New Jersey Devil. And I know that story might sound a bit crazy, but regardless, during the years, New Jersey has had unidentified creatures raiding chicken coops and killing livestock. At number 8 spot, we have the Watcher. This story has been made into a full-length show, but the fact that it was a true story makes it that much creepier. Located in Westfield, New Jersey at 657 Boulevard is the infamous Watcher House. It all started when a young couple named Derek and Maria Broadus bought the home back in 2014. The house is pretty old to begin with, so they immediately began renovations to make it into their dream home. However, shortly after they were official owners of the home, they would receive several letters from a person only known as the Watcher. The first letter read, quote, 657 Boulevard has been the subject of my family for decades now, and as it approaches its 110th birthday, I have been put in charge of watching and waiting for its second coming. My grandfather watched the house in 1920s, and my father watched it in the 1960s. It is now my time. Do you know the history of the house? Do you know what lies within the walls of 657 Boulevard? Why are you here? I will find out. Eventually, the couple would get more and more letters to the point when the police needed to be involved. And when they finally sold the home, they never really uncovered who the Watcher truly was. At our number 7 spot, we have the Hindenburg Hangar. On May 6, 1937, a German passenger airship known as the LZ-129 Hindenburg was engulfed in flames and destroyed in an attempt to dock with its mooring mast at the Lakehurst Naval Air Station. Inside the airship was 97 people, and after the fire consumed the hangar, there were a total of 35 fatalities. This news eventually broke out and would immediately mark the end of the airship era. And even though the accident occurred almost 90 years ago, it's said that the air station is haunted by the ghosts of the former passengers of the Hindenburg. More specifically, this supernatural activity is mostly found inside of Hangar 1 or the Hindenburg Hangar. Here, some visitors claim to smell the scent of burning flesh as if the fire accident is happening all over again. Overnight workers of the air station also claim to hear someone walking inside of the hangar when it's confirmed that no one else is there. They usually leave the hangar alone due to these reasons, but regardless, that hangar has a very bad vibe to it, and I wouldn't be surprised that it's somewhat cursed in some way. At number 6 spot, we have Clinton Road. First of all, this is probably the only road in the US where I read that many haunting experiences where I wouldn't even want to consider driving on this road at all. I'm not even lying. This road went through it all. Satanic rituals, UFOs, mythical creatures, ghostly Camaros, and even hate groups. After all of this history, it makes sense why many people consider this to be the most haunted road in the United States. However, the most infamous story about this road has to be the Ghost Boy Bridge. So apparently, if you place a quarter in the middle of the road at midnight where the yellow line is at one of the bridges over Clinton Brook, otherwise known as the Dead Man's Curve, shortly after, the ghost of a boy will appear right in front of you. Story goes that this is a boy who drowned in the river nearby, and if he appears in front of you, he may push you near to the bridge where he was murdered on. In the hump of our list, we have the Shades of Death Road. Located in Warren County, this is yet another terrifying road to travel on in New Jersey. You're really better off taking a boat in this state, I swear. It's a 2-lane rural road that is around 7 miles in length. Legend of the road tells us of a time many years ago when a car full of teenagers were driving down this road to get to their prom. However, the road was extremely slippery that night, and when the car took a sharp turn, the car lost control and fell into a ditch, killing every single teenager in the vehicle. Nowadays, if you find that this road is very slippery, especially during a rainstorm, chances are you may catch a glimpse of one of the girl teenagers still wearing her prom dress. And some have even picked her up only to find that she disappears out of nowhere before arriving at her destination. The forest around this road has also been the site of many grisly murders and disappearances. And after many countless reports, this street was eventually given the name Death. At a number 4 spot, we have the Pines Barrens. Over 1 million acres and 7 counties in New Jersey make up the densely forested Pine Barrens. During the colonial era, the region was home to numerous enterprises, including paper mills and even sawmills. When coal was eventually discovered to the west in Pennsylvania, people eventually left the mills and neighboring communities, leaving behind ghost towns and some claim a few paranormal wanderers. The Jersey Devil is without a doubt the most well-known inhabitant of the Pine Barrens. The monster, which had leathery wings and hooves, was said to have been Deborah Lee's 14th child and born in 1735. Since then, has been terrorizing South Jersey homeowners and killing cattle after flying up the Lee's chimney and into the Pine Barrens. Eventually, a bounty was out for the devil, but no one was able to capture it, and has since remained a mystery ever since. At a number 3 spot, we have the Flanders Hotel. Alongside Jersey Shore is the infamous Flanders Hotel on 11th and Boardwalk in Ocean City. This hotel was first completed in 1923, and after its opening, it immediately became very famous among tourists and locals alike. I mean, it had property alongside the boardwalk and was very modern compared to the other hotels in the time. However, as the guests started to pile up at this hotel, many would be leaving with an experience they didn't expect. It was found that there was hundreds of reports claiming that the hotel had supernatural activity within it. However, the most common story is that of a ghost of a young woman looking for something in the hotel. Many people claim to see this woman in white wearing a wedding gown who always seemed to be looking for something on the floor. The story goes that this woman was named Emily, and during World War I, her husband never ended up returning. So it's said that her spirit is still at the hotel in hopes that her husband will finally return and she will find the ring that he was going to give her. At number 2 spot, we have the cave grave. In the town of Newton lies a quiet small graveyard situated alongside Route 621. Though the majority of the stones from the 19th and 20th century are upright limestone or granite, there is one memorial that is quite unique from the rest. It is a headstone located about 50 yards outside the cemetery's boundaries, which actually closes the entrance to a cave. Inscribed on the stone are the names of James, Margaret, and J. Howard Lewis, and the year 1909. Story goes that all 3 of these people were young children when they passed away. It all started when Margaret went into the cave and eventually got lost. So the boys decided to go in as well to save their sister, but they would meet the same type of fate and disappear into the cave's abyss. After several rescue missions were done, the bodies of the children were just never found. Many cave explorers claim that the cave has some of the most supernatural activity within it. Many people claim to hear the voices of these children, while others claim that Margaret is haunting the cave by appearing to explorers in her dirty dress. All the way at our number 1 spot, we have the Trenton Psychiatric Hospital. Trenton Psychiatric Hospital, originally named New Jersey State Lunatic Asylum, has a long history of helping mentally ill patients and even harming them. The hospital opened in 1848 and welcomed 86 patients. The first superintendent, Horace, was a good man and provided excellent care for all the people in his custody. Then it took a turn for the worse when Dr. Henry Cotton took over. The doctor believed he could cure mental illness by removing organs. He believed that infections caused mental illness, so he tested it by removing his patients' teeth, limbs, or any body part with slight signs of infection. This would cause dozens of patients to pass away, and many claim that you can hear the screams of his patients inside of the walls of the hospital to this day. Others even claim to see the apparition of Dr. Cotton himself and other ghosts with missing limbs. Unfortunately, after his passing in 1933, a review found his medical procedures caused 45% of his patients to perish. The irony was, the doctor was clinically insane as well. At our number 10 spot, we have the Candy Lady. In the early 1900s, children in the rural town of Terrell, Texas started to go missing. Some of the residents blamed it on the Candy Lady. The story says that she would go around leaving candy on children's home windows just before bedtime. As the parents began to fall asleep, it'll encourage children to grab the candy, but as they try to grab it, the lady grabs them and feasts on their sugar-laden blood until there isn't any left. A farmer allegedly found rotten teeth on his farm and later found the body of a boy with his pockets stuffed with candy. Many people believe that Candy Lady is in fact real and went by the name of Clara Crane. Clara Crane was accused of poisoning her husband back in 1895 with poison-laced caramel candies. But that's not all. 5 years before the incident, Crane's 5-year-old daughter passed away from unknown causes, which many believe that she poisoned her daughter as well. At our number 9 spot, we have La Llorona. This legend originates from El Paso, Texas. Almost all Latin cultures know the story of La Llorona, and the people of El Paso are no exception to that. La Llorona directly translates to the weeping woman, which perfectly describes the behavior of this malevolent spirit. She is said to haunt the riverbanks of the Rio Grande, where she is searching for her 2 children whom she had already drowned in that very river. Now there are many iterations of the story, but I'll just mention the most popular one. The legend goes that a lady found her boyfriend with another woman. After a heated argument between the two, the woman was heartbroken and wanted to get revenge, so she took the children and proceeded to drown them in the Rio Grande River in Texas. It's also said that when she was done throwing her children into the river, she went back to her lover's home with a bloody wedding gown, showing her she would do whatever it took to be with him. It's said to be the reason why many children disappear in that very area, and she supposedly takes other children to fill the void she lost. So if you're in the area, beware of a woman weeping in a wedding gown who is sitting by the Rio Grande. At number 8 spot, El Cucuy. This creature is known as South Texas' official boogeyman. There are many versions of El Cucuy since it already originates in Mexico as well. It's said that this monster kidnaps children who misbehave and takes them back to the mountain where he lives to devour them. He appears as a hairless creature with an enormous head that dwarfs his spider-like body. He also has these large red glowing eyes, red ears to hear everything, and razor-sharp fangs and claws to accompany that. The origin of El Cucuy goes that a man was suffering with tuberculosis. Desperate to cure himself, he fetched an African witch doctor. The doctor told him to drink a child's blood, but as he did, he started to turn into the monster described. Ever since, he has a never-ending thirst for children's blood. At our number 7, we have the Screaming Bridge. In North Arlington, Texas, 50 years ago, there was a group of teenage girls girls driving home from a football game. The bridge was designed to only fit one car at a time, and I know, what a dumb bridge, but this was in the past and I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. The girls weren't paying attention and went full speed over the bridge until a car with no headlights struck them head on, with all of the girls passing away. Some say when they go near the bridge they can hear the distant screams sounding like the girls before they passed away. As well, if you go over the bridge and look down at the water below, you can see the tombstones of all the girls with their names and birthdays written on it. At number 6 spot we have the Goatman's Bridge. Why are there so many haunted bridges? Like, I don't get it. But in Denton County, Texas lies the Goatman's Bridge, which was built in 1884. This bridge is supposedly haunted by the ghost of the Goat Man. The story goes that a black goat farmer named Oscar Washburn was renowned for quality meat, milk, and cheeses, and then he moved with his family just north of the bridge. Except when he arrived in this area, he was instantly the target of racial hate crime. The racist townfolk came together and burned down the farm with the family inside. They then threw Oscar's body over that very bridge. Now he appears as a half goat, half man humanoid that reeks of decaying flesh. If you knock on the bridge 3 times, it said that you can summon the Goat Man, but now others use this area for rituals and other supernatural activities. Right in the hump of our list, we have the Lady of White Rock Lake. The lake is located in Dallas, Texas, and many visitors claim that they spot a drenched young woman who appears crawling out of the water or asking to fetch a ride. When many people offer her this ride, she disappears out of thin air and leaves a bloody, wet seat mark and a terrified driver. Even though many of the drivers were scared to their core, some decide to go to the address given to them by the girl. When they arrive at the door, they're all met by the same man who tells them that his daughter had gone sailing and never came back. Many people believe the story is inspired by the 1953 book Neiman Marcus, Texas, the story of the Proud Dallas Store, and according to the book, Malloy and his wife are driving home late one night in East Dallas when a young, beautiful blonde girl ghost appears on the road. Her elegant dresses is naturally wet and she seems to be in trouble. She gives them an address on Gaston Avenue and asks them to be taken home, but as they drive, she disappears, leaving only a mark. At our number 4 spot, we have the Lake Worth Monster. You just learned about the Goatman, right? Well, this is basically the Goatman, but of the lake. This monster terrorized the people of the town for years, with many describing the creature as being 7 feet tall, around 300 pounds, long-necked, flopped-eared, pot-bellied, covered in white scales and hair. I swear I just described Shaquille O'Neal. The monster was supposedly captured on camera, but you guys be the judge of that one. It looks like a 2-year-old drew on a camera lens on a potato with a crayon and then took this photo. But who knows, it might be real. This beast was inspired by Sally Ann Clark's book, The Lake Worth Monster of Greer Lake, Fort Worth, Texas. In the book, the monster jumped on the hood of someone's car and shook up the car so badly that they got caught in a bad accident. The people described it being a 7 feet tall being covered in scales and fur and resembled a half goat and half man. Pretty scary if you ask me. All the way at our number 3 spot, we have the Donkey Lady. The Donkey Lady of San Antonio, Texas dates all the way back in the late 1800s. The Donkey Lady was once a beautiful woman with children and a husband, but one day in a rage, the husband burned down the house with the children and wife still inside. The children passed away, but however, the wife managed to survive, but suffered greatly from this. Her toes and fingers would be fused together in a hoove-like way, and her face was melted and sagging, inspiring the Donkey Lady name. There's a bridge in South San Antonio named the Old Applewhite Bridge, or the Donkey Lady Bridge. This is the bridge she went to crown after this horrible tragedy. Now it's said if you go to the bridge after midnight and call out the Donkey Lady, she will appear just before you. Some have claimed she had run at people who call out her name, or sometimes just stalks in the forest line waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. At number 2 spot, we have the girl who danced with the devil. The story takes place in the 1970s in San Antonio, Texas, with a young Mexican girl named Rosa. One day the girl wanted to attend a dance at a nearby nightclub named the El Cabroncito. However, the parents were very strict and didn't want her anywhere near the nightclub. Despite their orders, she snuck out of her house and traveled all the way to the nightclub where she could finally have her dance. At the club, Rosa was approached by this very tall, charming, and well-dressed man who asked her permission to dance. When they began dancing, Rosa was terrified when she discovered he had goat hooves instead of feet. When she screamed in terror, people in the club started to chase him out, but as he got close, he vanished out of thin air, leaving a trail of smoke and the smell of sulfur. Double activity if that wasn't enough. It's said that the area surrounding the nightclub still smells of sulfur to this day. At a number 1 spot with El Muerto. El Muerto, otherwise known as the Headless Horseman of Texas, is a Texas legend that dates all the way back in the mid-1800s. The story goes that 2 rangers, Creed Taylor and William Bigfoot Wallace, were hunting a criminal known as Vidal along the Mexican border. Vidal had been wreaking havoc all across the state of Texas, so when the ranger caught them, they wanted to set an example. So they did just that and cut his head clean off. They then tied his head to the saddle saddle and sent his horse with the headless body running off into the night. Now the horse continued to explore the region with its headless rider. The tale of El Muerto began to grow after it was reported that both had been seen numerous times and that gunshots had no impact on either of them. Spotting El Muerto was thought to foreshadow bad luck because everyone who claimed to have seen him was struck with a series of bad luck and poor health following it. Number 10. The Red Lady of Huntingdon College. The Red Lady of Huntingdon College is a legendary ghost that is sent to haunt the former Pratt Hall dormitory at the Huntingdon College in Montgomery, Alabama. According to Wyndham and historian Daniel Barefoot, there have actually been 2 ghosts referred to as the Red Lady. The first Red Lady was described as a woman in a scarlet dress and parasol, who walked wordlessly in the halls of the women's dormitory, bathed in a red glow, due to her father's will specifying she attends her mother's alma mater. Martha was shy and unhappy and struggled to make friends at the college, leading her to become increasingly aloof and bitter. Despite the efforts of the dormitory president to befriend her, Martha remained isolated, often wandering into the rooms of other students and casting a chill upon groups. Her behavior grew increasingly strange as she would visit dormitories during the darkest hours of the night, never speaking but only staring into space as if in a trance. One evening after Martha had not been seen for the day, her former roommate found her dead in her room. It is believed that she had taken her own life, but rumors circulated that her ghost continued to haunt Pratt Hall. Students reported seeing her walking up and down the halls, opening and closing doors, and staring into space. The Red Lady's ghostly encounters continued for many years, and now she's become a well-known legend at the college and the entire state. Number 9. Deceased Children's Playground. The Deceased Children's Playground in Huntsville, Alabama is a pretty intimidating name for a seemingly innocent-looking playground. According to local lore, many children who died during the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic in Huntsville were buried in Maple Hill Cemetery, which adjoins the playground. Some people believe that the spirits of these children come out to play in the playground after dark, which has led many to report of unexplained movements and ghostly sightings in the area. For those who don't know, the Spanish flu pandemic was a global disaster, killing an estimated 50 million people worldwide, including many in Huntsville, where the disease arrived on September 25, 1918. Within the 10 days, it had spread to the general population, and hospitals were filled with patients, leading to doctors working long shifts to try to ease their suffering. As a result, many families were quarantined in their homes, and to prevent the spread of the disease, parents told children to keep the windows closed. This resulted in the rhyme, "I had a bird, its name was Enza, I opened the window and influenza." Although there is no official count of the number of children who passed away in Huntsville during the pandemic or how many people were buried in Maple Hill, it is likely that hundreds perished, leading to this park being extremely haunted. Number 8. Hell's Gate Bridge. Hell's Gate Bridge in Oxford, Alabama is considered to be the most haunted bridge in the state. The bridge's name was inspired by the legend of a young couple whose car drove off the bridge and into the waters below in the 1950s. According to the legend, if you stop on the bridge and turn off your lights, a member of the couple will enter your car and leave a wet spot on the seats. This eerie story is why the bridge is considered to be very haunted. But it is not just a couple that haunts Hell's Gates Bridge. It is also said that if you stop on the bridge and look over your shoulder, the road behind you will resemble the fiery gates of hell. This frightening tale has led many visitors to the bridge seeking to experience the supernatural for themselves. Although the Oxford Paranormal Society conducted an investigation in 2007 and found no evidence of paranormal activity, there are still many locals who claim to have had a ghostly encounter at this bridge. Despite the bridge's reputation, local officials have closed it off to any sort of vehicles due to safety concerns, but visitors are able to still walk across it if they dare. While the old bridge is falling apart, it is an unforgettable experience to walk on it, even in the daylight. Whether or not the stories behind the haunted bridge in Alabama are true, the legend of Hell's Gate Bridge continues to live on and attract visitors from far and wide. If you are brave enough to walk across this historic bridge, you will be forever changed. Number 7. The Sloss Furnaces. Birmingham, Alabama was founded in 1871 with the aim of becoming a major center for America's industrial age, taking advantage of its rich deposits of iron ore, coal, and limestone. The city was nicknamed the Magic City, and one of its key attractions was the Sloss Furnaces, built by James Wither Sloss in 1881. The furnaces were dangerous and men worked 12-hour days facing danger at every single turn. Many workers died from accidents, including falling into molten steel or suffering from carbon monoxide poisoning. There's even a story of a worker who was dragged into gears during his lunch break. The furnaces were known for paranormal activity as well, with reports of screams, apparitions, and the presence of slag, which is a cruel foreman. On September 9, 1887, worker Richard Jowers fell into molten steel and was incinerated. It is rumored that his bones were removed, but his remains were lost completely. Today, Slough Furnaces is a national landmark and still echoes with the sounds of his perilous past. It is possible that the workers who lost their lives at these furnaces still haunt the grounds, reminding the city of their sacrifice. Number 6. The Downey Booger. The legend of the Downey Booger dates back to the late 1800s in Winston County, Alabama. Known for its rugged men, whiskey, and Saturday night dances, Winston County was also infamous for the strange creature that had been sighted by John and Joe Downey while they were returning home from a dance. The creature, which had both human and animal-like features, had frightened the cousins' horses and caused them to run in the opposite direction. Later, a family returning from a church service and Jim Jackson, who was transporting moonshine to a mining town, also reported encounters with this creature. Jim Jackson fired twice at this creature, causing it to scream like a woman and limp on 3 feet. A posse formed to find this creature, but all they found were traces of blood leading from the sandbed to a distant cliff. The true identity of this creature still remains a mystery to this day, and its strange appearance and haunting screams continues to be retold among the residents of Winston County. In the hump of our list, we have the Alabama White Thing. The mystery of the Alabama White Thing has been the subject of much speculation and storytelling for nearly a century. Originating in the Triangle region between Morgan, Etowah, and Jefferson counties, this creature is described as being over 7 feet tall and covered in long white hair. It is known for its lightning fast speed and eerie screech that sounds like a woman's scream or a panther's roar. There has been numerous sightings of the White Thing in Happy Hollow, Walnut Grove, and Moody's Chapel. Some people believe it could be an albino Bigfoot or a large albino bear. Peter J. Gossett, a historian of Winston County, heard the story of the White Thing from his aunt, Fenata Martin Smith. She told him of a man named George Norris who had a close encounter with the creature in Enon Graveyard. According to Smith, Norris described the White Thing as having the appearance of a lion with a bushy, slick tail. He said it was looking at him when he woke up one morning to find it laying next to him, but it didn't seem to pose a threat. Number 4. The Drish House. The Drish House in Tuscaloosa, Alabama has a rich history that dates back to 1837. Built by Dr. John R. Drish, a physician and prominent home builder in the area, the 2-story Greek Revival style home was once part of a 450-acre plantation. Drish employed slave artisans for his plasterwork projects, and his success in the field led him to marrying a wealthy widow named Sarah Owen McKinney. But the Drish House is not just known for its rich history, but also for its notorious reputation as being one of the most haunted sites in Tuscaloosa. The spirits of the original occupants are said to still haunt the house, including Dr. Drish, Sarah Drish, and Catherine, which is the daughter of the Drish family. In 1969, author Catherine Tucker Wyndham published a book about 13 ghost stories in Alabama. And the second chapter, called Death Lights in the Tower, tells the story of a mysterious phantom fire that occurred on the Drish House Tower after the passing of Sarah Drish. Number 3. The Bear Creek Swamp. Bear Creek Swamp, located in Autauga County between Prattville and Autaugaville, has been a source of ghost stories for many years. A woman who is said to be searching for her missing child is said to roam the swamp at all hours, with some claiming that the baby drowned there and others saying that the children was kidnapped by indigenous people. According to the legend, if someone visits the swamp at midnight and chants, "I have your baby," 3 times, the woman will appear, kind of like Bloody Mary. Many people have reported sightings of apparitions that resemble indigenous people and early settlers, as well as phantom lights and cackling laughter in the area. The legend of Bear Creek Swamp becomes more intriguing in November 2014 when the Autauga County Sheriff's Office recovered 21 dolls that had been mysteriously stuck into the marshland. Although the Sheriff's Office never determined who placed the dolls there, officials just believed it to be a Halloween prank. But was it really? Number 2. The Tuskegee Syphilis Experiment. This experiment was designed to observe the effects of syphilis when untreated. It was conducted in 1932 by the U.S. Public Health Service with 600 African Americans recruited from Alabama. The men consisted of 399 with latent syphilis and 201 as a control group with no syphilis. They agreed to the study because they were promised free healthcare, which they never got, and were originally told that they were being treated for bad blood. These men were given only placebos such as aspirin and mineral supplements, rather than being treated with penicillin, which was the recommended treatment at the time. Many participants of the study died, went blind, or got driven to insanity, while others suffered other severe health complications due to the untreated syphilis. The story ended up arising back in 1972, and by that time 28 more participants perished, 100 had passed away from related issues, 40 spouses were diagnosed with it, and the disease got even passed down to 19 of their children. Despite an apology from President Clinton in 1997, the damages had already been done. Number 1. Hugging Molly. The small town of Abbeville in Alabama is known for many things, but one of its most famous legends is that of Hugging Molly. According to the local folklore, Hugging Molly is a tall figure dressed in all black, including a wide-brimmed hat, who wanders the street of Abbeville at night looking for children to hug. Although the origin of the legend is unclear, there are several different theories as to who or what Hugging Molly really is. One theory is that Hugging Molly was a woman who lost her own child and as a result goes after the local children to make up for it. Another theory suggests that Hugging Molly was a professor at the Alabama Agricultural School and her intention was to keep the students safe by getting them off the streets at night. There's also others who believe that Hugging Molly was murdered in cold blood on the very streets she now haunts and is trying to fulfill something. Despite the frightening appearance of this haunting Molly, there has never been any reports of harm caused by her. In fact, she's almost a part of the community and town history, with local residents even being named after her. With so many different interpretations, it is really difficult to determine the truth behind the story of her. But one thing is for sure, on a cold, dark, and rainy night, Hugging Molly still roams the street of Abbeville, seeking out children to hug.